Let's observe silence for some time. Om. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6. We'll chant from verse number 1 to 5.
श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम् कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगं कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
Last week we started the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's called as Dhyana Yoga. Dhyan means meditation. So, how to use meditation to attain the state of self-realization. So that's the chapter all about. And we covered the first verse last week. See, this verse is so practical. And why we are saying it is practical? Because it removes misconceptions about what is it being spiritual. People genuinely believe, ignorant people, that there is worldly path and there is spiritual path. So they feel that spiritual path is meant for handful of people. So Krishna is demolishing such misconceptions. Genuinely, people feel it has to do with the dress code. You have to observe rituals. You have to participate in festivals. It has to do with particular gender, living in seclusion. So many misconceptions are there. None of that he discusses here. So he just gives 4 guidelines for the humanity. And whoever practices these four guidelines in their day-to-day life is a spiritual person. Yaha saha anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragirna chakriya. So whoever does his obligatory duties in life, that is first condition, first guideline, at home, at work, in the society, wherever you are, we are supposed to do our obligatory duties, which is opposed to acting on likes and dislikes. Now, what is obligatory duty? It is a common sense. Just use your intellect. Think with clarity, you will know what is your obligatory duty. As a father, do you not know what is your obligation? As an employee, do you not know what are your obligations? As a citizen of America or any country for that matter, do you not know what are your obligations? So if you apply your intellect, you know what are your obligations in life, which is opposed to acting on likes and dislikes. The first guideline is you do your obligatory duties in life. But how you do your obligatory duties? Anashrita karma phalam. So that's the key. So you do your obligatory duties in a spirit of renunciation. That's the difference. You may do your duties with tremendous attachment. Most people do with attachment. They're obsessed, they're possessive. But what makes you spiritual, same action, is you do your duties in a spirit of renunciation. That is point number 2. A third point is you have to have a higher ideal in life, a goal which is beyond your self centered interest. So, being spiritual means being unselfish. The simple definition. You are in a particular profession, you could be in business. So, why are you doing that business? If you are doing it just to cater to your self-centered desires, is not spiritual. But the same profession, if your thoughts are on something higher. Now Makrand is working for Ford, for argument's sake. He may do that job just to fulfill his self-centered desires, which is not, incidentally, I know that for sure. Or his thoughts could be, how can I contribute to this company called Ford, with my talent? So the same action, your attitude is different. That is being spiritual. And you are dynamic. That is condition number 4. Not being lazy. If something can be done now, you better do it now. Don't postpone. That is being spiritual. And people feel being spiritual is lazy, not doing anything. At least be active at physical level to begin with. Other things will automatically follow. So practical, these 4 guidelines. Now, who cannot practice this? So if your life revolves around these 4 parameters, these 4 guidelines, then you're a spiritual person. And then we fine-tuned this concept to understand what it means. Anashrita karma phala. See, step by step, I'm trying to explain. So there are three types of actions: selfish, unselfish, selfless. Nishkama karma is selfless action. So he is talking about nishkama karma, selfless action. Selfish action we understand, unselfish action we discussed just now. Selfless action is you do what you have to do in life. You fix a goal, you fix an ideal, but you do not do it for anything, meaning you are not result oriented, you are action oriented. No worries, no anxieties. You take away that I, my ego, all these pollutants from the action. What is left is pure action, which is called as selfless action. So that is perfection in action. Anashrita karma phalam. Now you apply the same formula, you fine tune it further. If you can relate to it, your only mission in life is to find out your identity. You have no other mission. I have no other mission. So who is a true spiritual person who understands this mission in life? So he has the goal of self realization, God realization as the ultimate goal, because that's our identity. And then you oblate all your actions, worldly actions, to that goal. That is true selflessness. Whatever you're doing, you're a father, yes, you do your duties, but you're not doing it that duty of a father just for father's sake. Yes, it is helping you to evolve spiritually. It will take you to the ultimate goal of self realization. So that is what gives you that ultimate detachment, sense of renunciation in whatever you are doing in life. So if you can fine tune all your actions to this, you do it. Otherwise, at least be unselfish to begin with and do that in the spirit of renunciation. So this is what we discussed last week. And we'll go on explaining this, analyzing this more in the subsequent verses. Verse number 2, please.
यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन.
O Pandava, O Arjuna, one of the names of Arjuna. Know yoga to be that which they call as sannyasa. None indeed becomes a yogi without renouncing sankalpa. Sankalpa meaning thoughts, the desires. See, when he is addressing Arjuna as Pandava, everything is symbolic. Now we all know the story. There were 5 brothers, 5 Pandavas, Panduputra. So Pandavas represent 5 Pandavas, they represent good qualities in a human being, righteousness in a human being, higher qualities in a human being. Kauravas, they were 100 in number. They represent the lower values, perhaps unrighteousness. So every human being is an admixture of higher and lower qualities, isn't it? And higher qualities are less in number, lower qualities are more in the average person. Desires for materiality, sensuality, all these are lower qualities. So that battle goes on throughout our life. So therefore, Pandavas were 5 in number and Kauravas were 100 in number. It's all symbolic. If you take it literally, I mean, it is absurd. How can any lady give birth to 100 children? Not even in India, it is possible, right? So it's all symbolic. So, O Pandava, O Arjuna, know yoga to be that which they call as sannyasa. He says yoga and sannyasa are same. And why unnecessarily quibble with words? Both have the same goal. The fixation is on attaining the state of self-realization, but the approach is different. I'm just giving you the introduction. Yogi has to follow path of action because he has got lot of desires. He has to offload his desires by plunging into action. And sannyasi has already offloaded his desires. Therefore, he is ready for deeper study, contemplation, and eventually meditation. But the goal is same. And both go about achieving their goal in the spirit of renunciation. They're not detached to achieving their goal. See, now, I know some of you must be getting confused, especially those who are new. I mean, what are these words? Yogi, sannyasi, jnani. So forget about the words. These are stages of spiritual improvement. You can call it stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Do you have that PowerPoint? Yeah. So it becomes easy when you look at the PowerPoint. So Bhogi is an ignorant person, the average human being in this world. So such a person is full of desires, is inundated with desires. Quality is inferior of desires and quantity is too much. So whole life he spends on acquisition and enjoyment. You can call him a human animal. He's just an animal in a human form. That's all. He has no spirit of inquiry. He is not interested in improving himself or herself. All he wants to do is indulge, indulge, indulge in life. And whole life he is playing with different set of desires. That's all, which is happening to all of us. Somebody may ask, where is that bogey? Bogey is nothing but you and I. It's not that, there's somewhere they are aliens. That bogey is in all of us. It's a question of more or less. So whole life, if you carefully observe the world for education, what are people doing? They are playing with different set of desires. That's all. So when you were children, we all were kids. So we played with toys, right? As a child, you are completely absorbed, completely stuck to the toy world. Then you became a teenager. Now, what does any teenager do? What did we do when we were a teenager? Completely obsessed with whatever, like teenage passions. We were stuck to that. Then we became adults. We are now youth or whatever, 30s, 40s. Till you hit 70, 80, what are you going to play with? Different toys. Name, fame, family, reputation, position, all types of indulgences. So whole life you're going around in circles. So therefore you see those two arrows, it represents a circle. So what are you achieving? What is your achievement? The only achievement is, which is not achievement, you are adding more desires at each stage of your life. Now, such a person is called as Bhogi. You can call him by whatever name you want to call. These are the traditionally used terms. Then, who is spiritual? Who has understood the mission of life, which all scriptures are talking about. Human being minus desires equals state of self-realization. So the moment you understand that, then you become a yogi, a spiritual initiate, that awakening has come. So then how do you purify your desires? Last week we discussed karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, isn't it? So you have, because you have desires at three levels, all of us, at action level, at mind level, at intellect level. So therefore they prescribe three spiritual practices. Whatever action you are performing, do it in the spirit of service and sacrifice. It's quite straightforward. Bhakti, we already discussed last week, that awareness of splash of divinity, which is everywhere, that attitude of surrender, that is bhakti. And knowledge is to understand the very purpose of life, so that we understand what is permanent, what is impermanent. So any person who starts thinking on these lines and is practicing karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, such a person is called as yogi. You can call it stage one if you don't understand the word yogi. Stage one of spirituality. And as you continue on this path, bulk of the desires are offloaded, and you start functioning in a world in the spirit of renunciation. It is mental withdrawal, it's not physical withdrawal. So bulk of the desires are gone. The goal of self-realization has become absolutely pronounced. Now that's the time you plunge into deeper study, reflection, contemplation, and eventually meditation, dhyan. And he is addressing this chapter 6, he is addressing to such a seeker who is on the verge of spiritual enlightenment. And then through meditation, you attain the state of self realization. So if you don't understand these words, yogi, bogi, jnani, sannyasi, just understand that at stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, it becomes quite simple. And then he is telling us, none indeed becomes a yogi without renouncing sankalpa, thoughts. So you cannot become a spiritual person. What is being spiritual? When you start working on your desires, when you start managing your thoughts and desires. So with your efforts, first you purify your thoughts and desires, and then you eliminate your thoughts and desires. So being spiritual means you start managing your thoughts and desires, one and the same. When a thin flow of thought is flowing from you to the object and beings of the world, we call it a thought. But when the same thought flow is thick, a thick stream of thoughts flows from you to the world, it is called as desire. So when the thought flow is thin flow of thoughts, you can call it thought. When the thought flow becomes thick, you call it a desire. So, which is called as sankalpa. Sankalpa is nothing but thoughts and desires for the material and the sensual world, for acquisition and enjoyment. Everybody has that. You have to have that if you're not spiritually evolved. So he says, your spiritual journey starts when you renounce these sankalpas. And what are we doing? When I say we, even ignorant people, more and more thoughts of indulgence, acquisition, and enjoyment. So therefore, you need to manage your desires. If you don't do that, if you allow sankalpa, thoughts to build, see, it will keep on erupting because of that incompleteness to begin with. And you genuinely believe that if I acquire objects and beings of the world, that incompleteness will be removed. So that approach itself is wrong. So you keep on generating these thoughts and desires, which is called as what? Sankalpa. I'm trying to explain in plain English what it means. Otherwise, it's just a fancy word. Oh, sankalpa. Sankalpa means mind erupting with love of desires. That's all. And when that happens, you lose your equanimity, isn't it? All these desires, they disturb you. Unfulfilled desires create mental agitations. And such a mind is not suitable for spiritual pursuit. You're getting the connection. So, therefore, you need to deal with your thoughts to begin with. Then, how do you deal with your thoughts? You have to examine your thoughts, each and every thought. And if necessary, intellect sanctions that thought. See, they're not saying you should not have thoughts or desires. You will have. Any person who is not self realized, by default, he or she will have thoughts and desires. But you have to manage your thoughts. A thought comes to you for anything, that after the lecture, let's go to Honest for dosa. It's a restaurant, Indian, South Indian, Indian restaurant. It's a thought. Is it a crime to go to Honest? See, if it is not interfering with any action, once in a while, why not? Even the lady in the house, she gets a break. We all get a break. We all get together and have a good time. So, intellect sanctions it. But if there is, let's say, we are having back-to-back lectures, just imagine. After this, we are going to Ann Arbor for another lecture, and there is only 1.5 hours of gap, and it takes good 45 minutes to reach Ann Arbor, and we are sitting in Honest and having dosa, and we all get late for the lecture. So then intellect says no. Why not do it in the evening? So any thought which comes to you, it has to be filtered through the intellect. Now, if you don't do that, whole life mechanically you're following your desires. This is what is happening to the whole world, isn't it? Parties, weddings, vacations, unending vacations. Every other week, where are you? Up north, then south north, west north. I mean, somewhere you are. Again, there is nothing wrong, but whole life is spent in this. Baby shower, wedding. There's somebody was telling me last week. One family, 27 times they have gone to India to attend a wedding. They are in US for the last whatever 30 35 years, 40 years. 27 times they have gone to India to attend a wedding. I mean, if you have to go, you have to go. I can't think of anybody having 27 brothers and sisters and their weddings you have to attend. you know so mechanically you plunge into life fulfilling your desires. So any thought which comes to you, filter it through your intellect. Number one. Number two, you have to question that why you keep on getting the sankalpas. Are you following what I'm saying? Any person who is scientific in his thinking, he has to ask this question, that why these thoughts keep on generating. Thoughts for acquisition and enjoyment, thoughts for indulgences, thoughts for materiality and sensuality. You cannot stop once they are generated. So, what is the very source of these thoughts? Why you keep on having sankalpas? By asking this question to the group. It is open first to those who are attending online. See, otherwise I'll go on talking. It will not make any difference. On your own, you need to question that why I keep on getting these thoughts, these desires to
It
indulge
is
over and
because,
over again. Whole life goes in that. So, what is the reason?
because of
Powerful,
our
powerful
desire,
mind and weak intellect.
because of our desires.
Correct, but question is why these desires? Sankalpa meaning desires. The another is English word for sankalpa. So Sachdeva uncle is saying due to weak mind and intellect. Correct, but there is something else.
We haven't.
70-80% of the onliners, I don't see their faces. Just I just see the names. You're supposed to turn on your videos. If there is some reason, of course, you can switch it off. But understand my position as a speaker. How can I talk to a blank screen? So therefore, 7-8 people, I force them to come and attend here. At least so I get some live audience. Otherwise, it's difficult to talk to blank screen.
Is lack of management of our thoughts on our part.
Correct. But the question is, why do these thoughts keep on arising whole life?
Weak intellect.
Already answered.
Born with
So
our
Sachdeva.
vasanas.
We're not action oriented. Think too involved in the worldly affairs, too much entanglement with the worldly things.
Why?
Many desires.
Why?
many
Why?
desires.
Question is why. All the answers are correct, but it doesn't answer why.
We haven't defined our goal.
Somebody's getting close now. Somebody's thinking on the right track.
Fear. Because we don't have anything solid to hold on to. So our mind keeps going on with what we have in our daily life. A lot of distractions.
One lump.
Because we haven't got that attitude of this, that these things are not important for me anymore.
Mhm. That we will never have whole life. In fact, it is important. Indulgence is important. See, we're not saying it is right or wrong. But this is the life of an ignorant person. So you keep on getting sankalpas, you keep on getting thoughts because you don't have any higher ideal in life, isn't it? See, again, go back to the example of Makrand and Ford. Nothing to do with Makrand and Ford. He is there, so I thought it's a practical example. And incidentally, it's a good example, a positive example. So either you work, most people, they work just for themselves, right? What can I get from my profession? Name, fame, money, position, whatever. So you keep on entertaining these desires. There is no end to it. You earn X amount of money, you're not going to be happy. You want more. You get promotion, you're not happy. You want reputation. So the whole life, you keep on generating these desires. You keep on producing these desires because you don't have higher ideal in life. But if Makran works for Ford, which he does, I know Ford, no, therefore he's always smiling. Otherwise, how do you explain his smile? Smiling Buddha. That is, I can't show you his how happy he is. I think if camera is on Makran, it will be far more productive than this lecture because very smiling, happy face. So if you focus on your profession, that how can I help my company with my talent? You don't have to do anything different. Same action. So the moment your thoughts are on your company, how can I contribute to the company? See, you're not catering to your lower desires. You're not feeding your lower desires, your selfish desires. And since you're not feeding them, they will become weaker and weaker, and eventually they will go away. But what is happening to ignorant people, since you don't have any higher ideal in life, whole life mind keeps on producing sankalpas. There is no end to it. There is no satiation. The more you get, the more you want. So therefore, you need to attack the problem, the source of thoughts and desires from the root, which is You have to pitch up a higher ideal in life beyond your self-centered interest. Doesn't matter what you are doing. You may be the president of a company, you may be a CEO of a company, you may be just a handyman. Doesn't matter what activity you're doing. You must do it in the spirit of service and sacrifice using your intellect. Understood? So when you do that, then you're not feeding your lower desires. Therefore, they become weak, and they fall away. So, who is sannyasi? Who is yogi? He or she has a firm spiritual goal. Next level of explanation. Now, your goal could be relative, your goal could be absolute. Relative goal could be, I want to become a better human being, self-improvement. Self-improvement culminates in a goal of self-realization. So if you cannot conceive the goal of self-realization, it is okay. We all can definitely conceive self-improvement. And 100% self-improvement is self-realization. So you have that firm goal. Why you have that firm goal? Then if you don't have that goal, then you will be a bhogi. Whole life will be just nothing but a human animal, feeding your lower desires, mentally agitated. Do you want to live that kind of a life? So once you understand the purpose of life, then you get that fixation, that spiritual fixation, spiritual goal. And after that, lower desires don't bother you, relatively speaking. See, to give you a practical example, to evolve spiritually, what you need to do, what we keep on telling, that you have to study in the morning. That is must. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are doing. 30 to 45 minutes is must. So your target every day is what? That I want to get up as early as possible so that I can study. So once you have that fixation, that's your goal, automatically you will cut down on your night activities, evening activities. Otherwise, if somebody tells you, no, you must sleep at 10 o'clock, you will say, why? Why should I do that? But if you have a goal that early in the morning, I'll get up at 5 o'clock, or whatever is your capacity, I will study the scriptures for 30 to 45 minutes, automatically you're soft pedaling on your all these non-essential activities. Non-essential is according to you because you have that fixation. And some of you have maybe more concrete goal. You're attending classes in person. Many of you are doing e-learning. Some of you attend retreats, local retreats in Catskill, North New York. What is that? Upstate New York. You come to Vedanta Academy in India also. So you manage your activities around this, your worldly activities around this. See, it's not that you don't participate. It's not possible that you will have to participate. But if you have that fixation, when you have that fixation, when you have that goal, you will question yourself. Is my worldly activity, whether it is necessary? Do I have to really go up north? Every other week I am up north. One day Traverse City, third day Patowski, fourth day Tunnel of Trees, fifth weekend Macon. I mean, it is endless. So you will question yourself whether it is necessary. And answer need not be no all the time. Otherwise, you can't live in your house. You know, wife say anything he is no. I'm studying Vedanta. It's not that. But whether it is clashing with your goal, you question. And good many times you can manage these activities around your schedule. But right now, what is happening? You prioritize spiritual activity, worldly activities. I'm meaning your priority is your worldly activities, and if time fits in, you do spiritual activities. Are you getting the difference? It should be other way around. So therefore, you need to handle the problem from the root. Why do these thoughts keep on coming? Because you don't have any higher ideal in life. So therefore knowledge helps. Are we clear? So now you read the translation. No yoga to be that which they call as sannyasa. None indeed becomes a yogi, spiritual person, without renouncing sankalpa, thoughts and desires. Verse number 3, please.
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम् कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम् कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते.
For a seeker who wishes to master yoga, action is said to be the means. For the one who is established in yoga, quietude is said to be the means. Now, in chapter 5, we have already discussed this. I don't know how many of you remember. Can we have that PowerPoint? It becomes very easy. What is he saying? See, the flow of life, this is what is happening to all of us. Constantly, we are receiving stimuli from the world. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. These are the senses we have. And they are receiving corresponding stimuli from the world. This is what is happening to all of us 24/7. You receive stimuli from the world, and then there is reaction to that stimuli. And then there is response. So you cannot prevent receipt of stimuli. World will bombard on you the stimuli. The moment you open your eyes, you are bound to receive stimuli. Music is going on, news is going on, people are discussing so many things. So that's what we mean by stimuli. But only if you have desires, then you will react to that stimuli, not otherwise. We always give example from day-to-day life to understand the concept, never get lost in example. So if somebody tells you there is wine tasting near Vijay's house, there is a winery, there is no such thing. There is a winery near Vijay's house, and they are offering the best wine in North America at 11 o'clock. Let's say I announce this. I make this announcement after the class is over. What is Radha's reaction to that? She doesn't even know the spelling of wine. What is it? But I don't know about her neighbor's reaction, arguments, say. I don't know about Veera's reaction. Definitely knows the spelling of wine. I believe so. So only if there is desire, there will be reaction, there will be action. You'll go pick up a glass of wine. We are not saying it is right or wrong. So stimuli you cannot prevent. You will be bombarded with stimuli. But only when they hit pool of desires, there is reaction, there is response. So if pool of desires is too much, then constantly there is reaction, constantly there is action. You have to act because you're loaded with desires. So when you have too many desires, there is constant reaction, there is constant response. Now, such a person cannot sit down in one place and study. You need a calm, composed mind because by default he is active. So such a person has to plunge into action and purify his personality by performing unselfish action. But if you have less desires, so meaning you have worked on yourself and you have removed the bulk of your desires, so therefore there is not much reaction, there is not much response. So such a person is fit to study, contemplate, and eventually meditate. So that's what he's telling us. So if you want to master yoga, if you want to be spiritual, if you have more desires, we call such a person an extrovert. So extroverts need action, they have to follow path of action, and introverts, they have to follow path of study, reflection, contemplation, and eventually meditation. So we already discussed this in chapter 5. So I thought let me recap. So what you need to do, first of all, you need to fix an ideal in your own profession, in your own area of talent, and then function in the spirit of service and sacrifice. Makaran and Ford example. I'm not going to repeat now. All of you in future also, Makaran, Ford, you should get a message. So when you work for Ford, when you work for GM, genuinely not for yourself, your egocentric desires, they will fall off eventually. And such a person, he is ready. When bulk of the desires are gone, you're ready for study and reflection, eventually meditation. See now, why it is important for you to understand, because sometimes people get inspired by this knowledge and they give up their business and profession. And then they regret. I've seen many such examples in my life, even temporary. When I was in my course, long time back, 25 years back in Vedanta Academy, one businessman from Dubai, he came to spend 3 weeks. He used to follow Swamiji, very fine human being, very dynamic, very, very successful in Dubai. And Swamiji used to go once a year. He got inspired. He said, let me take it to the next level. So he came for 3 weeks. And first 2 days, 3 days, he was reveling. We all were there. You guys are so lucky. What bliss, I mean, I don't want to go back to Dubai. I don't know why am I in business. And after 2 days, on the third day, he got restless. He couldn't take it anymore. Then he found out there was some cycle. In fact, it was like old broken cycle. He fixed the cycle. That chain, what do you call that chain, right? Yeah, he fixed that, and he was a mechanical engineer. And he started, third day evening, we all saw him going in the campus on a bicycle. Fourth day, he started exploring nearby villages. And on the seventh day, he went and confessed to Swamiji, Swamiji, is too much for me to stay here. And in the passing, he said, Swamiji, is it wrong? A thought came to me that it's a very good tourist spot, your Vedanta Academy. I'm talking about 20 years back, 25 years back. What if I start a fast food restaurant near Vedanta Academy? See, I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong. See, he's full of desires. So he's not fit to stay in one place and do concentrated study and reflection. That doesn't mean he should not study. Half an hour in the morning is enough. So therefore, you need to offload your desires before you can plunge into what? deeper study and reflection. Now, people like bhogis are going for meditation. Forget about yogi. Only a sannyasi can meditate. And bhogis, people who have no concept of spirituality, who are inundated with desires, these are the people who try to meditate. So, I mean, it has got no meaning. You must understand the science behind the whole thing. So, when you offload the bulk of desires, you qualify for study, contemplation, and eventually meditation because your mind is calm and it cooperates. Otherwise, mind will not cooperate. Why it will not cooperate? Because it is busy planning when next trip to up north, when will I start fast food restaurant, when is my next vacation. Nothing wrong. Bhagavad Gita is not saying it is wrong. But you need to address that. How you need to address that? By having a higher ideal in life, by plunging into action, unselfish action. But it goes without saying, everybody needs knowledge. So the focus is more on action when you have more desires. That is in the initial stage of your spiritual journey. And when through unselfish action, you purify your personality, bulk of the desires are gone, you qualify for deeper study and reflection. And it's not in black and white. To the extent you offload your desires, to that extent you can study more to understand this principle. And that's what, see, you and I can understand this through knowledge, but masses cannot understand this message. So therefore, there are various festivals and rituals they perform. Right now, whole India is celebrating Navaratri, isn't it? Navaratri means festival of 9 nights, which concludes on the 10th day. 10th day is more important than the first 9 days. And it's called by various names. Vijayadashmi, Dashera. In South, what do you call it? Vijayadashmi. If you go to Kolkata, they call it Durga Puja. See, just to give you a gist of it, they worship 3 goddesses in a sequence. Durga, goddess Durga is worshipped for the first 3 days. Next 3 days they worship goddess Lakshmi, and the last 3 days they worship goddess Saraswati. So these are concepts. They are not personalities. There is no lady called as Durga. There is no lady called as Lakshmi. Yeah, Lakshmi ji is there, but I'm talking about incidentally she may be goddess like, it's a different point. But they are concepts. They are not personalities. So first 3 days you worship Durga. See, Durga symbolizes our efforts to fight our negative qualities, our lower qualities. So therefore, she is riding on a lion. She is having 4 hands, and in each hand she is wielding weapons. So it symbolizes fight against our own lower nature. All of us have that. So the first 3 days you worship Durga, meaning you fight your lower tendencies, your materiality, your sensuality, your negative emotions, all these lower qualities. Then next 3 days you worship goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi symbolizes wealth or virtue. So when you work on your lower qualities, positive qualities, higher qualities, they come up, like love, compassion, oneness, attitude of identifying with everybody. So these positive qualities, they come up. And when these positive qualities come up, when your mind is calm, it sets the stage to receive this knowledge. Saraswati symbolizes, she is a goddess of knowledge. So you straight away, you don't worship Saraswati because you need to work on your low desires. You have to fight your low desires, which is Durga. 3 days you worship Durga, you work on yourself. When you do that, your inner wealth manifests. What is your inner wealth? Compassion, feeling of oneness, identification with all beings. I'm just giving you one example. And that prepares your mind to receive the knowledge of the scriptures. And then on the 10th day, the demon called Ravana, his effigy is burnt. So Ravana symbolizes our egocentric desires. So through knowledge, you get rid of your ego, the individuality. The 10-headed monster is nothing but our senses. And when you get rid of that monster which is within us, that ego, you are self-realized. So that is the symbolism behind celebrating Navaratri. You celebrated and the whole of India. Still today is Dashera. Today is Vijayadashmi. Oh, today is Dashera, incidentally. Oh, wow. So today is a final day for all of us. Final countdown. So tomorrow, next time when we meet, it's going to be a galaxy of saints and sages everywhere. So it's not that 9 days you become self-realized. You must understand the symbolism. So every religion has this message. Festivals may differ, rituals may differ, but people like you and me, intellectuals, through knowledge, we can understand. You don't have to go through these festivals and all that. I mean, you may do it incidentally. Please don't say that, why are they celebrating? Because of these people, at least these values are intact. Sometimes people get into that tendency, why these rituals, why these festivals? You and I may talk about it, and end of the day, pothi pad ke pandit banana ko. We'll just become scholars. Hardly anything will apply. At least these people, the masses, they will apply this knowledge. There are chances. So there is a reason for everything. That is how Sanatana Dharma is designed. That everybody gets everything. Desire is a disease, right? And knowledge of the scripture is the medicine. But you can't give same medicine for everybody. The highest medicine, 5,000 milligram, is Upanishad. But are you in a condition to receive that? Which we did in our retreat last week. I mean, how many people could relate to that? Good many of us, because we are prepared. So if you could relate to Upanishad straight away, that's the ultimate. Tat Tvamasi, they are not going to explain. So those who are prepared, they need that. But then there are people like you and me who need relatively diluted version, which is Bhagavad Gita and all introductory books, but still it is quite high. And then there are people who are emotionally, predominantly they are devotional, emotional. So they need some fixation. They're not capable of intellectually understanding the way we are understanding. So therefore, these festivals and rituals, so that they get some fixation and they understand the meaning behind it also. It's not that mechanically they are celebrating. Even that you can understand, and there is Hatha Yoga. They're almost like animals. You have to beat them to wake them up, literally, So none of us need that. But again, it's a spiritual, it is administered as spiritual practice, almost like animals. So the range, look at the range from 5,000 milligram medicine to 1 milligram medicine. So that's the beauty of Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma. In layman's language, Hinduism. Hinduism is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is Hinduism. We never called ourselves Hindus. Sanatana Dharma. English name for that is Vedanta. So we don't criticize anybody. We understand needs of everybody. But if you have come to the level of knowledge, through knowledge, you must work on your desires. So For a seeker who wishes to master yoga, action is said to be the means. Explained. If you have more desires, you need path of action, unselfish action. For the one who is established in yoga, quietude is said to be the means. So if you have offloaded your desires, bulk of your desires, then such a person needs knowledge. So you find out what is your requirement. But everybody needs knowledge. Knowledge is the foundation of any spiritual practice. And then verse 4 he continues, which you will do next week. So I'm just reading the translation. When a man is not attached either to sense objects or actions and has renounced all sankalpas, then he is said to be established in yoga. So 3 and 4 put together, they give us some guideline. What does it mean to be established in the spiritual path? So I will catch you when you are fresh next week. So before we conclude, there is a quick announcement. And before announcement, is there a question? 1 or 2 minutes I can maximum give, because you have that facility of clarifying your questions with me directly. So don't hesitate.
I mean, you just said knowledge is the foundation. How in various means, people who know the alphabets, educated dictionary, they can read and get it. What are the other ways of getting knowledge for people who have never gone to school?
No. We don't mean scholastic knowledge. No, by knowledge mean we knowledge of scriptures.
Okay.
Kabira, you're fond of Saint Kabira. I think he was not even literate.
Yeah.
So many saints and sages, they never went to school. We don't mean scholastic knowledge. We mean knowledge of how to live life, knowledge of Vedanta. You could be illiterate and you could be well versed in this knowledge, established in this knowledge, not scholastically.
So other ways to do that will be like satsanga and associate people and have all these other ways like action.
That is devotion. What are the 3 spiritual practices? Action,
Karma,
devotion,
bhakti,
and knowledge.
Yeah.
So what I said was knowledge is the foundation of any spiritual practice. Mechanically, you're doing action without knowing what action is. You must fix an higher ideal in life. This is knowledge, how to act, isn't it? Devotion without knowledge has got no meaning. You'll be on a slippery grounds. You may be victimized by mechanical rituals, some blind faith. So again, knowledge is the foundation. The knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the supreme, that's the basis of any spiritual practice. So in that sense, I am using the word knowledge, not scholastic knowledge, knowledge of higher values.
Thank you.
Any more questions before announcement? All right. So Radha has got a quick announcement. Keep it near you, the microphone. Okay.
Hari Om. We will be starting a new study class from Sunday, October 27th on Swamiji's book, The Holocaust of Attachment. Class will be on every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. US Eastern Time. The Holocaust of Attachment is an important book of the Vedanta philosophy and will be useful to understand the subtle concepts of Bhagavad Gita. Registration is open and you already must have received an email. Feel free to forward the email to your friends and relatives. Thank you.
So it's saying important class, just in addition to what Radha is saying, the whole theme of that book is attachment. Problem with you and me is we are attached to practically everything. So therefore, you're not getting that spiritual lift. All of you are genuine. Otherwise, why are you attending this? But in spite of being genuine, in spite of being sincere, you are completely attached and caught up for no fault of yours to everything in life. So that analysis is the book, The Holocaust of Attachment.
Oh.
So it will take us approximately 5 to 6 months to complete that book. So that's what the announcement was all about. So anyway,
Thank you.
let's meet next week.
Thank
Thank you, Amitji.
Thank you, Amitji.
very much.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Amitji.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Hari Om, Amitji. Hari Om.
See you next week, all of you.
Thank you.
Amitji. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.